Greetings gamers, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to learn how to play Sailor Moon the card game. This game was made back in 2000 by the company Dart, and it only had two sets, which was the base set and then past and future set. This game, if you are a fan of Pokemon, you're going to see that it's pretty similar to it. It has a certain couple of steps that you have to follow, meaning you can't do things out of order. That's where I feel like a lot of people get confused with this game is about, because they try to do things out of order, which it gets confusing. What makes this game unique is whenever you're playing, whenever you attack with, it could either be the sailors or whenever the monsters retaliate, there is in some scenarios where you have to do a rock, paper, scissors match with your opponent, and you have to win it in order to inflict damage. But other than that, let's get started. Game is pretty easy. It is pretty fun. The game is hard to actually get, so if you do want to play this game, I would recommend getting proxies, because a booster box is probably going for like $300, and then the starter decks will probably be pretty expensive as well. I think they're probably around like $50 or so. But other than that, we're gonna go over the cards. So starting off with the leftmost card, that is your Scout. So you have just, obviously the Scouts with Sailor Moon, Mars, Jupiter, and so forth. And then they also have another card called the Knights, okay? So these are your guys that you're gonna be playing, that are gonna be fighting your opponent's monsters. Now in this game, the monsters are very important because it helps you win. So how do you win the game is this: your scouts have to defeat monsters up to a certain amount of victory points. So the victory points is all up to you, you and your friend to decide. Short games, it's 4 victory points, and the victory points are gonna be on the monsters and villains, which will be labeled right here. And a medium game is 5 points, and then a long game is 6 points. Now, if you want to, you could play past 6 if you want to make it extremely long, but me and my friends, when we play, we just always go to 6. Looking at the Scout, you can see these are the attacks similar to Pokemon. These right here is the power cards that you need to put in order to use the attacks. Now, looking at the cards, you can see monster cards right here, along with the Scouts and the Knights. They have a power cost to use certain attacks. Now, if you look at it, you're gonna see a certain dot in front of an attack. So if you see a red dot, that's an attack. If you see a blue dot right here, then that just shows that it's a defense ability that you can use. Now this right here is the HP. Obviously when that hits 0, the sailor is discarded. And I also did forget to mention, there is another way to win, is if your opponent has no more scouts or knights in play or in their deck, then they lose the game and you win. Moving on over here, this section right here is your pie cards for short, but pie just stands for your person, item, and event cards. So typically with those just help you get certain benefits in the game, and it helps you out tremendously. Moving on, this right here is your power cards. Power cards are pretty much, if you play Pokemon, they're your energy cards that helps you use certain attacks. Moving down over here, we have the monster cards, and then we have the villain cards. So notice, if you look at the villain cards VPs are worth more than the regular monster VPs. Now, the reason why is because the villains are typically what involve for the monsters. So there is something I don't know the exact term, but it's with Pokemon you're involving. So you can involve your scouts and your knights, and you could also involve your monsters by removing them and not removing them, but discarding them to play a villain. Now, there is a caveat to that. Whenever you play a villain, you have to sacrifice whatever monster it says. So as you see right here, this replaces I believe it's a Negaverse Yoma. So you have to have one in play in order for you to play this villain, to sacrifice it. Now, with villains, there is a time or a window that you can't play them. And so the first time that you play a monster, you can't sacrifice it to play a villain. They have to be in play for a full turn in order for you to be able to play the villain. And also, if your opponent hasn't had a turn yet, then you can't sacrifice a monster to play a villain. But other than that, that's pretty much the cards. There's no other cards in the base set. I don't know about the next set. I don't have the next set. So if there are any new cards, guys, let me know in the comments. But this is just pretty much everything from base set for the cards that they have. All right, let's set up a turn. All right, so setting up the game, what you're gonna do is you look through your deck and you're gonna find a level 1 scout or knight and put it into play. And then you're also going to look for a monster and you're gonna put it in play as well. Now, with that being said, I do wanna talk about the zones. So the topmost zone right here, that is gonna be your enemy zone. So that's where you play your monster and villains. Over towards the left side of your playmat, that's gonna be your pie card zone. So that's where you're gonna play all of your pie cards, which is persons, items, and events. And then over here's your ally zone. That's where you're just gonna play your allies, which is gonna be your scouts or your knights. So after you do put them in play, each knight or scout that you play, they have a certain card that comes in play with it. So with Sailor Moon, with her ability down here, well, not ability, but just her starting play. When Sailor Moon is used as a starting character, you begin the game with Melvin in play. So you're gonna look for your deck for Melvin. So Melvin is a person. Melvin's pretty good. So he just lets you kind of filter through the top of your deck. So Melvin's gonna go on your pie card zone. All right, so that's set up right there. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna draw your starting hand. So your starting hand is going to be 5. So you draw your 5 cards. And I'll just move this up a little. All right, guys, so after you drew your 5 cards and you decide who goes first, that's when the game starts. So we're gonna go over the turn order. So with the game Sailor Moon, the turn is broken down into 9 steps. So the first step is you draw a card. The second step is you play cards from your hand. The third step is you use cards. The fourth step is to play new cards. Your fifth step is to use your scout and knight actions. And then the sixth step is to defeat a card. The seventh step is to discard any cards from your hand. The 8th step is your balance step, which means you'll draw back up to your 5 cards. And then the 9th step is obviously your end of turn. So we're gonna go in depth on each of these turns. So starting off with step 1, draw a card. You draw 1 card. So with Melvin, he has the ability where I draw 2 cards and then I look at 1 card and I put it at the bottom of my deck. So out of the cards I drew, I want energy. That's what this game's really based off of. So what was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I actually drew 1 less. So I draw 1 more. There we go. So I look at what I have. So I have a level 2 Sailor Mars. So level 2 Sailor Mars doesn't help me. So I'm just gonna put this at the bottom. So in this game, you can level up your sailors the turn that they come in play. The only thing is you can't level up your monsters. Now, after we drew our cards, now we get to play cards. So we could literally just dump our hand if we want to. So looking at this, so Sailor Moon, her attack costs 2 power. So I can just go ahead and put all this power on her. And then after that, I can still keep playing cards. So I have a monster card, so I'll just go ahead and put another monster over here. And then I do have another monster, so I'll just go ahead and put him here. Guys, there is uniqueness in this game, except for monsters. Monsters are non-unique, but the villains are unique and the scouts are unique. And your person cards are unique as well. Moving on to keep playing with my turns, still because I am at step 2, which is to play cards. So I'm gonna play lunch. And this is where a lot of people get confused about because they think you use it now. No, you don't. It literally just goes into your area. And step 3 is where you use your cards, which means you use this. So we'll put this into our pie area. We're going to play this event card. So event cards are one-time uses. You play them and they go to the discard pile. So we'll play FN number 10, which is you can broadcast a request for a friend's help on the radio. Search your deck for one person and bring him or her into play immediately. Discard after use. So this is good because it helps me search for a person card. So I only have one other person in here, which is Luna. This is pretty much 2 starters put together, so it's not that good. So we'll put Luna into play. So Luna is a person that all attacks and combined attacks delivered by your scouts and knights are increased by 1. All right, so that right there is essentially my turn. Well, that's not really my turn. That is just my my step 2, which is play cards. Now I'm done playing my cards on step 2. Now we'll move to step 3, which is use cards. So use cards, I really don't have any cards I can use right now. This right here says discard, and this symbol right here means any power card. So discard a power card on any one scout or knight to remove 30 damage from the character. Discard after use. My health is at full, so it doesn't make sense for me to use this. All right, so after step 3, which we had nothing to do on step 3, we're gonna move to step 4, which is play new cards. So in this step, so after we pass step 2, which is play cards, we can't play any more cards. So in step 4, we play new cards, but only the cards that we were like drawing based on step 3, which is U cards. So let's say during step 3, we had an item or a person card that said draw a card. So that card that we draw, we can use that in step 4, which is play new cards, okay? So that's where the step 4 part comes into. People do get confused because they feel like they could keep playing more cards after this step. No, you cannot. The only time you play new cards is if you end up drawing additional cards from step 3, okay, which is the use cards. So we're skipping step 4 because we drew no additional cards based on step 3, which is our use cards, which is like using this or anything like that. So after that, we're going to move to the scout action. All right, guys, so what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be going over step 5, which is the scout and knight action. So I did bring in a monster here, so that's just going to signify one of the monsters that I'm gonna be attacking. So in this game, your sailors or knights attack your opponent's monsters. Your opponent's monsters and vice versa, your monsters, they do not attack freely, okay? So the only way they can attack is retaliating. They have to be attacked in order for them to attack, all right? So if I don't attack a monster, that monster does not attack me, okay? So with this right here, we're gonna show you how attack works. So a regular attack is, I play this right here. I have all my power cards. I have 2 power cards, and I'm gonna use the Moon Tierra Magic. So whenever that happens, I'll do 30 damage to my opponent. So when attacking an opponent's monsters and villains do not attack us unless they're being attacked, okay? So if I don't target a monster for an attack or a villain, that means they are not going to be attacking me. Monsters only retaliate. So whenever I attack my opponent's monster, I'll designate what I'm using. So right here, I have 2 power cards on Sailor Moon, so I'll be able to use Moon Tiara Magic, so it's 30 damage. So looking at the monsters, whenever I attack, you can see in the middle section of the cards, it shows what their strength is and what their weakness is. So think of it like Pokemon as well. So if a monster is weak to a certain power, which is Sailor Moon is the soul right here. So as you can see right here, this person is, what is that? Is that weak? It's strong against soul. So what that means is damage gets reduced by 10, and then vice versa if it's weak to a certain ability or a power, then it's +1 damage. Now, whenever you are attacking, that's when, if you look on the cards, there is a blue dot and then there's a red dot. So the blue dot signifies it's a defense ability. So in order for you to use the defense ability, that's when it triggers now because I'm attacking this monster. You have to have a power card on this monster in order to use the defense ability. So whenever you use a attack or a defense ability on a monster, you have to discard the energy that it specifies. So this right here will tell you to discard the energy after use. So right now, this doesn't have an energy on it, a soul or a power card, but if it did have a power card, then we can use the blue ability, which is discard this. Attacking opponent must discard 1 item of his or her choice. So keep that in mind that if you do see blue, that's a defense ability. Now, since there's nothing that this monster can do, this monster has to take 30 damage. Now, it is strong against this, so that 30 gets reduced by 10, so it's 20. Now, I do want to mention this, whenever you do have a defense ability right here, you can use the defense ability, and then once you're done using your defense ability, you could have some cards that have, I just dropped my phone. But like I was saying, after you use your defense ability, you could have some cards that can help you in the defense phase as well, okay? So just know that that is your opportunity to play those from hand as well. Now, other than that, what you could do is you could reduce the amount of damage that's being dealt with you by discarding power cards from your hand. So for each power card you discard from your hand, that reduces the damage of the attack by 10. So let's just say, you know, you're only gonna get hit with 20 damage, so that's okay for this monster. So you're okay not discarding any cards from your hand to prevent any more damage, so you just take just 20 damage. So we'll put 20 damage on here. All right, now other than that, let's explain how a participating in a combined attack works. Now, I also forgot to mention, but it's kind of obvious. Once I make an attack with Sailor Moon, I can't do another attack with Sailor Moon that same turn, okay? So we're gonna show you what a combined attack looks like. All right, how a combined attack works is this. So you have to have a minimum of 2 scouts or knights in play in order to do a combined attack. And what you need to do is, in order for them to do the combined attack, they need to have the power cards, at least 2 of them, that matches their current power right here. So Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars, their power is soul, which is indicated right here. So they need to have soul cards attached to them in order to use the combined attack. All right, so with the attack, we'll just say, like I said, Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars are attacking. We're gonna be attacking this monster right here. So they could discard any amount of power cards attached to them. And so for each power card they discard off of them, they're doing 20 damage for each one. So if I were to discard 4 cards from Sailor Moon and Sailor Mars, then the attack is gonna be doing 80 damage to the monster. Now there is a caveat with this, so the defense stuff still applies as well. So you could do your defense abilities like this, and then you could use your defense abilities from like item cards or cards in hand. Now with this, there's a caveat. Whenever you do an attack that's a combined attack, you have to play rock, paper, scissors in order for the attack to actually go through, the finishing attack. Now, I guess the reason they made that is because the combined attacks are considered like your superpower attacks. And so that's why you have to play rock, paper, scissors, because anything can happen with that. So that's why I assume that's why they made the rock, paper, scissors aspect to this game. Now I do want to mention, whenever you're playing the rock, paper, scissors aspect of the game, whereas you can see, like it says right here, the JKP, that's the rock, paper, scissors aspect. So whenever I use that defense ability, then we're doing the rock, paper, scissors. But whenever you're playing the rock, paper, scissors aspect of the game, if you do not like the outcome of the game, then you can discard 3 power cards from your hand in order to use, well, not use the attack again, but in order for you to play rock, paper, scissors again. So you could do that as many times as you want until you run out of the amount of power cards that you need in order to do a retry. Now I do want to mention, whenever you do attack, you could actually end up not attacking at all. So your opponent could do something to your scouts to make them lose power cards from underneath them. And if you don't have the right amount of power cards, then you can't attack. Now there is something called preventing an attack and avoiding attack. So those are two different things. They sound very similar, but it's very key. It's a very key difference. So if the monster prevents the attack, that means he literally just stopped the attack from happening. But on the other hand, if the attack was avoided, that just means the attack did happen, the monster just avoided it. So why is that a key difference? Is because of this. It's retaliation from the monster. If the attack was prevented, then there was no attack to happen, so the monster can't retaliate and attack back. But if the attack was avoided by the monster, then the monster could still retaliate because an attack did happen. So that is a key thing to know, so you guys don't get confused about that. Now, we showed you the regular attack, and then we showed you the combined attack. So I do want to go over next the rejuvenation for the next action that your sailors can take. So we're rejuvenating, so it's all based on how many monsters that you have in play. Now, it does not count villains, it is monsters only. All right, so as you can see, we have 3 monsters in play. So we can have a scout rejuvenate 3 times. So how would you rejuvenate is this. So you have to discard from your scout power cards that match their power. So for each one that you discard, you heal 20 points of damage from you, but you're maxed out based on the number of monsters you have in play, not villains, monsters. So if you have 3 monsters in play, you can only do it 3 times per scout. Now, you cannot heal, you cannot rejuvenate and attack on the same scout. It's either or, because it's broken down to either one attack or a combined attack, or you rejuvenate. And whenever you attack, you can't do multiple attacks. So if Sailor Moon decides to attack, Sailor Moon cannot do a combined attack with Sailor Mars. All right, so let's just say we're gonna go back to our attack. We're gonna do a combined attack. We're going to discard, because these 2 are using the combined attack, we're gonna be discarding this to do 80 damage. She has nothing on there, so the attack does go through, and 80, she dies. So this gets removed from play, and I get the victory point of 2 from this. Being removed from play is very distinctive. It's not discarded, it's removed from play because you can't recur them. Okay, so that's a key note. So that right there was the step 6, which is defeat a card. Like I said, it is removed from play. And then also what gets removed from play as well is scouts. So if a scout gets defeated, then they get removed from play. There is a retaliate, like I said, even though this does die, you can still, the monster does still get to retaliate with damage. It is 30, so since these two did attack this monster could split the damage however they want. So they could do all 30 on Sailor Moon, they could do 30 or 20, 10. So it's all up to the opponent of what they want to do whenever the monster does fight back. All right, so after we remove all defeated cards from play, which that is step 6, we'll move to step 7, which is discard cards. So during this step, you could discard any amount of cards from your hand. The reason for that is because of the next step, which is step 8, which is balance. So at step 8, what you do is you draw back up to exactly 5 cards in hand. Now, at any point in time, if you have more than 5 cards at step 8, the balance step means you have to discard until you have 5 cards in hand. So you draw up to 5 or you discard down to 5. So that's why it's good to really empty out your hand, because really you're just going to draw your hand back at the end of your turn. And then after that, it goes to step 9, which is in your turn. So that pretty much is the game. You can see how it's reminiscent to Pokemon, where you can evolve and you have your power cards and things like this. So I do want to go over, so I did get some good cards in hand. So we'll just play a quick round again. So I will draw for turn. So I do have Melvin, so I look at 2. So I want to bottom deck this body one. I do want to end up playing, actually that's the wrong one. I do want to play all my soul into Sailor Mars. The reason for that is because I have a level 2 Sailor Mars. So we're going to level up. So we'll just remove this one from play. We'll play the next one. So you could literally keep leveling up based on how many levels you do have in your hand. Now this right here is a cool one. So this right here is a villain. So you can see right here, it says Negaverse villain. So this right here replaces the Negaverse Yoma. So I am looking for Negaverse Yoma. I have nothing but Negaverse Yomas. So I will just sacrifice this to play this villain. Now I have a villain in play. So this villain, you can see it has 100 health. It has 2 defense abilities. So it has mind control. I need to move it up so I can see it. So it has mind control, which is I need a body or a soul power on it in order to use this. So what it does is discard a soul, and then attacker must discard 1 person of your choice. That is nice. And then it has another one, which is black, what's that? Black homing crystal, which is search your deck for 2 Yomas or items, maximum of 2 cards, and bring cards into play immediately. Shuffle your deck. That's really good too. So that literally searches. And then after that, I'd have my red one, which is attack. So as you can see, villains have pretty good abilities. That's why you can't just like rush them in like you could rush in the scouts. But yeah, no, that's pretty much the game. It's like I said, you can play short games of 4 victory points. You could play medium games of 5, or you could play a long game, which is 6 victory points. Another thing I do want to mention is with this deck, well, deck building really in general, it's a 60 card deck. You could make it 30 cards if you want to play like a different version of the game, just so things can go fast. But I recommend playing the 60 card builds. And then, well, your deck building, you have a maximum for one card is 4. You do want to have a decent amount of level 1s. What I mean decent amount is you want to be able to get your level 1 scouts into play, because if you're not able to play any scouts, if your starter scout dies, then you just lost the game. So you want to be able to have other scouts so you can be able to find them and be able to play them, because with this game, you're going to want to get multiple people in play so they could do either combined attacks, or at least you can still survive while your other sailor gets taken down, okay? And that's why you want to play multiple copies of them, because there are cards where they could end up getting discarded or removed from play. So that's why having multiple copies of level 1s will be good for you. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I hope this tutorial helped you understand the game a little bit better. If you did like this video, please, guys, like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can have even more tutorial videos coming to you. Other than that, guys, that's it for today's video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.